Today I thought I'd talk about the title of this piece, which is Moving On, a Village or Facility, When and Why. So the reason I decided to talk about this evening is I belong to a group of people with Parkinson's that have a Facebook group, and I read with some sadness about a woman whose husband died 18 months ago, and she's struggled, obviously. She was married to him for quite a few years. I can't remember exactly how long, and he passed away 18 months ago, and she's struggling. And 18 months is not a long time to get over such a loss, especially when you've built that relationship and you had been each other's companion for so many years. So this lady, after her husband passed away, then discovered she also had Parkinson's. A bit like my family, my mum and dad both had Parkinson's, and I've drawn the short straw in our family, and I also have Parkinson's, and I'm hoping that nobody else gets this gift. Certainly not the greatest Christmas present, which, by the way, had been diagnosed, tomorrow I would have been diagnosed 5 years. So happy anniversary to me. So anyway, in this piece that she wrote for this Facebook group, she was saying that she was living with her daughter, and it sounds like she's struggling a bit with that environment. The daughter made some comments about 18 months should be long enough for her to grieve, and she should be over it by now and moving on with her life. There is no hard and fast rule, and neither should there be, to how long we get to grieve. I think we grieve for the rest of our lives. And I think I read somewhere once that grief never goes away, but your life just grows around it. And I know, having lost my oldest son, that grief will never go. But it becomes absorbed as part of my life and will forever be so. So one of the things that the daughter apparently has said to her is that when she gets to the stage where she has advanced to a point where the daughter can't cope with her, and who can tell when that would be, she would have to go into facility. And reading between the lines, it sounds like this lady is not terrifically happy, I should say, at the very least, that the daughter is saying these things. And it does sound like I'd hate to use the word threat, but it does sound rather ominous that this might be hanging over her head and something that she may be concerned about. When will it happen? What will not coping look like for her daughter? What will not coping look like for her? Whose safety is being considered in this? The mother's, the lady who wrote to the Facebook page, or the daughter's safety? Yes, it's very hard to tell, not knowing the full situation. And the lady also said that she felt that life wasn't worth living. Her husband was her reason for being. And, that's really sad, and it's understandable. But she has children that are grown up, and she has grandchildren. But obviously it's the love and care and support and companionship of her husband that she's missing after all those years. So, yes, the daughter had said that when she gets to the stage where the daughter, can't cope, mum would probably have to go into facility. And for me, I would find that terribly daunting, not knowing when or if this might happen. It would certainly not make for a relaxed sharing of that environment with the daughter. So when I was diagnosed 5 years ago tomorrow, not long after that, I had a conversation with my husband. And the conversation was led by me, and he said it was far too soon to have this conversation. But I proceeded to have this conversation anyway, because that's what I do, to plan, and I like to know that I've had the conversations that I need to have. So I said to him, at some time in the future, with this being a progressive condition, I will need to have more care than can be safely provided for me at home. And that safety is about safety for me and safety for my husband, because it has to be safe for both of us. And I said to him on that day we had the discussion, I said, if and when that time comes that I'm not safe or you're not safe, it's okay for me to go into a facility for both our sakes. Now, I don't necessarily want my husband to become my carer, not full-time, to the detriment of his own health and well-being. If I need to go into residential care, then that will have to happen. But I just hope that doesn't happen for some years yet. And I was just wondering for this lady, whether, because she's now on her own and has probably had a house that she shared with her husband, would she consider going into a village? And a lot of these villages have the independent units where it's just like a house in the community, but you have a call bell that you can ring a nurse or somebody for an emergency. And you basically, most of these will give you first dibs on a room in their rest home or hospital when or if it's needed. Now, the reason I suggest this is because it can be very lonely out in the community as an older person. And I know this through my work as a social worker. I was a social worker in hospital for 11 years and a social worker for 20 plus years all up. And I visited many people in their homes who might have had adult children in the same city, but they're working full time and they've got kids to get to soccer practice and kids to do this and that for, and they have their own hobbies and interests. And even though they might be in the same city, they often didn't take the time or have the time, to be fair, to go and visit their older mother or father. And so, as happens as we get older, friends drop by the wayside for one reason or another, and it can get increasingly lonely because there's no one to talk to. There's no one of their age that they know that they can trust in, that they can actually have a conversation with on a regular basis. And so while they're hanging onto a house full of memories and understandably reluctant to sell it, perhaps buying a house in a village can be not such a bad thing. You still have your independence, you can get some support in if you need it, as and when you need it. Engage in activities and social things with people in that village. Now, I have an uncle who is 89 years, who lost his wife just over a year ago, and we were really concerned that he was going to be really unhappy. And of course he's grieving his wife's loss, but he has exercise classes that he can go to over at the hall that's part of their facility. They have speakers come along to talk to them. They have outings. Him and some of the others seem to be having one-upmanship with their ride-on, scooter things that they scoot around town on. And they seem to be getting more and more competitive over who's got the best scooter with all the bells and whistles and in the raciest colour. But he enjoys the company of these other people. There's a happy hour that they can go to. They play cards, they play various other games. And so he has opportunities, even though he has lost his wife, and yes, he misses her, he has those opportunities to mix with people of a similar age and have some companionship. Someone to have a cup of tea with, someone to go and have a coffee with. Sounds like him and a couple of the other guys with scooters poodle off into town where they live and frequent the local coffee shops. And he loves doing that, so all power to him. So, for me, I think if I were in this lady's position, I would want more control over when or if I was living somewhere other than in the community. And it can be a much gentler option to purchase a house in a village and make a life there and meet people there that if things progress, and of course they will with Parkinson's, when things progress, there will be some familiarity in that environment and they're not relying on when or if their daughter, son, whoever decides it's time for them to go into residential care. There is very little that we can control in this life with Parkinson's. But for me, I would rather control, if I was on my own, heaven forbid, I would rather control where I lived than have somebody else make that decision for me when I'm still grieving the loss of my husband. Again, heaven forbid. So yeah, just a few thoughts on when or if to go to a village or facility and who makes that decision. So this has been Sue for Parkies and Me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.